Morning, welcome to Civil Discourse Now. I'm Mark Snoll.
And I'm Paul Ogden.
This is May 26, 2012. Is this significant as far as the date is concerned in your life?
It is my birthday, and we have a guest today. He brought me a cake.
Our audience is here.
We put it up. Thank you, audience. And the Swansons, very kind to do that. Fans of the show.
Yes, and we're shooting live streaming from the Indie Cigar Bar. It's at 36.
I have the address.
37. It's on East 86th Street across from Keystone at the Crossing. And Corey, the owner, is being very, very gracious in allowing us to shoot here today. You have the address?
Yes, I do. It's 3357 East 86th Street.
So, first segment we're going to do today is something kind of new. We're going to do is it's what's going on. We're just going to hit random topics. Each of us is going to do about a minute on each topic, and then our show today, the other three segments, are going to have to do with economics. Our guests are James Neese and Dan Forrestal. So, Paul, first topic: Pacers want more money.
Pacers want more money. Thursday, of course, they wrapped up the season. They lost to Miami Heat. Out of the playoffs, Indianapolis Business Journal today had a column at the very end of which they talk about how they are in negotiations to get more money from the Pacers. In July of 2010, the CIB cut a deal with the Pacers to pay $10 million for 3 years and $3.5 million for improvements to the stadium. So $33.5 million. My problem with that is it was supposed to cover the next 3 years, and if you look at the timing, we should still have another year yet they made the last payment in January of 2012. They basically lied to people saying that it was going to be for the next 3 years, and it was actually for the next 2 years.
Well, being the socialist that I am, I'm in favor of subsidizing billionaire ownership of professional sports franchises.
This is the sarcasm.
No. They've spent $3.5 million installing stream advertising around the bowl of the field house here. We spent $3.5 million. The taxpayers, the Pacers get all the advertising revenue from it. Tony Soprano couldn't have done a better deal. They did a good run through the playoffs, lost to the Heat. They'll do better next year, especially on Indianapolis taxpayer dollars. And I'll bet your Indiana Pacers will have ticket prices that you can't afford. Second topic. Donald Trump came out this week saying he's going to demand to see Mitt Romney's birth certificate. This is a little disingenuous, I think, because he also came out at the same time endorsing Mitt Romney. I think he thinks that if he can come up with Mitt Romney's birth certificate, he'll have established something about how he's more American than Barack Obama. President Obama provided his birth certificate April 2011 long-form certificate. I want to see Mitt Romney's dad's birth certificate because he was born in Mexico because the family had to move down there to avoid anti-polygamy laws because they were Mormon and they were from Utah. So I think that's kind of, the whole birther thing, I think, is just a sideshow too.
Well, it is, but I don't understand why it took so long for Obama to produce the long-form birth certificate. I mean, he ran in 2008, and it took 2011 to turn it over. It should be part of running for president. I mean, there is a requirement you be a natural-born citizen. So.
Identity theft.
You're worried about President Obama getting his identity stolen.
Look, there are enough people out there that will copy down the information from a credit card when it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and try and get goods that way. Yeah, they do Barack Obama's ID.
Yeah.
And there are probably companies that would write it down. And then
I've never heard that used as an excuse for him not to.
Well, it would be for me. He said, well, why wouldn't he? That's why I wouldn't do it. Third story. Richard Murdoch this week
Yeah, I know you like to pronounce his name that way, but Murdoch is starting. You see him since the primary, starting to pull away from the Tea Party, which was, of course, very much behind his defeat of Richard Lugar. And I received an email early in the day. I'm on the Pence email list, talking about how the Pence Ellspermann, if I pronounce her name right, ticket, the new lieutenant governor that was selected, is being labeled as a Tea Party ticket, and the Pence people basically said, we've got no problem with that. We are the Tea Party ticket. That's fine. So I just find it interesting, the two approaches that they are taking.
I think that it's interesting because, on the other hand, you have a Democratic ticket with a very conservative John Gregg and someone who passes for liberal in the state of Indiana, Vi Simpson, and against a candidacy, a governor, lieutenant governor, that is not going to shake any kind of orthodoxy on the Tea Party movement. They're going to make sure that they've got two Tea Party people on there. But I think it's interesting that Murdoch, as in Mordor, distanced himself from the Tea Partiers because there were a lot of people who did not want Lugar to lose because they believed that he's a great statesman and should have remained in office because he represents the best interests of the people. And I think that that's Murdoch's response to that. He's just trying to retain those people.
Yeah, I think the Pence people are saying that they're confident that the state is conservative and would support conservative.
In other words, they don't care.
I would not say that.
I know you wouldn't. Ethanol, because that was one of the points upon which. Lieutenant Governor announcements. Then ethanol. We were talking about ethanol the other night, and that became an issue because apparently during the campaign between Murdoch and Lugar,
Right.
Murdoch attacked Lugar for supporting subsidies for field corn.
Ethanol.
Yeah, well, to be used as ethanol
Right.
fuel.
And 40% of the corn grown in Indiana goes to ethanol.
That's right. And the point that was being raised in the Senate race is that the Senate candidate for the Democratic Party is
Strongly, Donnelly,
Yeah.
strongly in favor of ethanol, and he's trying to use that as a wedge issue to get the farm support.
well, is it really a wedge issue if they're arguing the merits of an issue and it really has a lot to do with the economy of the state?
Well,
And
I think
I'm not a Donnelly fan.
a wedge issue, I think I would define it as an issue that you're trying to use as the key issue to wedge off voters. Which I don't think it necessarily calls it a wedge issue, means it's illegitimate or illegitimate. In this case, I think Murdoch is totally on the right side. Ethanol has been a disaster in terms of economic policy, in terms of an alternative fuel source. It's driving up the price of all food. It drives up the price of corn, it drives up the price of meat. It has been a disaster, and the farmers in Indiana have benefited, but Murdoch has taken a position that is the correct position, that we should not be subsidizing ethanol production.
Well, we don't subsidize it anymore.
We're not in that direction.
I mean,
It's still the same effect.
Federal subsidies for ethanol ended years ago, and now there's a requirement that a certain percentage of gasoline be manufactured with ethanol.
Right.
So it's like 8% or something.
Ends up the same thing. You end up with more ethanol production.
Yeah, but then look at the farmers. I mean, do we really have that large of a number of small farmers in this state anymore? And when I was a kid, there were a bunch of farms around where we lived. Now the farms are, a lot of them are large corporate enterprises.
A lot of them, but I think there's still a lot of farms out there. And in the past, a lot of farmers have struggled in the state of Indiana, but not the past couple of decades. They've done a lot better.
So you're saying that you're not in favor of.
I'm very happy that Murdoch has taken a position of principle rather than political expediency.
Well, I think that's corny, but that's beside the point. The last issue we had earlier this week, I saw rivaling poll stories I saw one story was raving about the fact that there was a set of polls that showed that if the election were held that day, it'd be a dead heat between Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. Then a couple of days later, I saw a set of polls were released that showed that President Obama was winning Ohio, Virginia, Florida, and one other swing state. I forget which one it was. These are meaningless. I mean, we are sitting here in late May. The election won't be for another 5 months, and I don't think that you can say what the weather is going to be like in 2 days, much less what the polls are going to be like in 6 months.
I agree. I think the polls at this point are pretty meaningless. You kind of got to look at it state by state, the polls state by state, because the election is actually 50 different state elections, 51 if you want to count D.C. But I don't get caught up in the head-to-head polls right now. It's just too early. And I've said at the end of the day, I think the weakness that Romney has is identifying and connecting with average voters, average voters. I think it's going to be a problem.
I think a second problem for him is when he gets up in the morning and looks in the mirror, there's no reflection. I don't think that he really has a political soul. I think he'll go any which way anybody wants. And the other thing is, I think it's interesting, is I know you think this is a big bugaboo of mine, but Americans elect, they came to the conclusion that they're on the ballot in 50 states. It's an internet party essentially. They came to the conclusion that no candidates. They made a big deal about having a convention online, and if you're a registered voter in the United States, you could register with their party and vote in their convention in June. Well, they've got a board of directors that could override the vote of any convention. And last week they realized, well, nobody that applied for candidate really qualified for what we wanted as a candidate for our party, so there will be no convention. But they're still on the ballot in all 50 states, and presumably that board of directors could name somebody at the last minute and cab things off. So there's that. So that's what's happening now, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. The next segment is Civil Discourse Now. Thank you.